Our prayer this morning is by Judith Corliss. How shall we pray? First, let us be open to the silence. Let us hear the sounds in this room and the noises outside. Let us begin to hear the soft beating of our hearts, and let us listen intently for messages from within. Next, let us feel gratitude for our lives and for our beautiful earth. As hard as life gets, or as sad or lonely as we sometimes feel, let us always be warmed by the gifts of this life. Next, let us hold in our hearts all those known or unknown who are in need. May we find in ourselves the energy and knowledge to bring care to the world. And finally, let us be aware of the blessing that it is not ours alone to do the work of the world. Love and community work wonders that we by ourselves could never manage. In this time of silence, let us form our own silent prayers out of the concerns of our hearts.
Benediction for a heavy heart. Good morning. I missed your good because a plane, because a truck, because a gun, because a cop, because a government, because of people suffering, because too many people suffering, because war, because famine, because some mornings it is so hard to rise, to wake, to be a self. There's a pause here. There's a deliberate cessation. I want a cessation to noise in my head, to the ache in the collective heart of this world. When I was young, this seemed possible. When I was young, how hope seemed to spring eternal. I want to write about butterflies, about the cracked edges of tree bark pressing like a holy mother into palms. I want to write about the joy of children's cries, about birth, about the arch of your smile, how I could lose myself in the corners of your sweet and grinning mouth. This you is you reading this. I want for your joy, want to lose myself in you. I want your mornings good, your evenings good, all the late nights and sunrises and afternoons and moments pressed against the ticking glass of your life. Good. Breathe. For yourself, for each other. Let us breathe in when others cannot, when we can do nothing else. Let us stretch ourselves open to embrace our friends, to extend our bodies open to anyone willing to meet us, or even to meet those we think may not. Let us hold each other for this moment, for this blink of human existence.
The other day at our new member class, we mapped out our spiritual journeys. It's It's a lot of fun. In fact, I'm thinking of including it as a workshop in our Winter Spirituality series this year because it is such a great way to get to know people. It involves long scrolls of paper and lots of magic markers. We each go to a quiet corner of the room and think about the twists and turns of our spiritual life. And then at the end, the group comes back and we share a few moments on our spiritual journey with one another. One of the moments that I shared that day was the memory of me at age 8 or 9 creating an altar in my bedroom. Now, we were going to the UU church at the time, and I was fascinated by all the things I was learning about all the world's religious traditions, but I was still craving that really practical application of spiritual practice. We were learning all about the things that other people did that connected them with Source, but I hadn't figured out yet what my way would be. So in my 8 or 9-year-old mind, I combined those different religious influences, taking something I liked from each of them, and I created my own little altar. I set up some beautiful semi-precious stones on a wooden chest that my grandfather had made for me. And Mom, I'm really sorry about this next part. It's only now that I realize I probably shouldn't have been lighting candles alone in my bedroom. But I lit candles like in a Catholic church. And I had these 2 crystal keychains that I held in each hand like prayer beads. I had seen my friend's Buddhist mother holding prayer beads and chanting. But I didn't know a chant, and we hadn't really been taught how to pray at the UU church. So I didn't have a prayer, but I did have a birthday card with a lovely little poem on it that I really liked. And so I would set up my little altar and light the candles, and then I would read the birthday card out loud. And the new member class asked me if I could still remember the birthday poem on that card. And at the time, I could only remember a few snippets, but I've been thinking about it. And all of the lines have come back to me, and it's this. Count your garden by the flowers, never by the leaves that fall. Count the days by golden hours, don't remember clouds at all. Count the night by stars, not shadows. Count your life by smiles, not tears. And with joy on every birthday, count your age by friends, not years. That was my first prayer, I guess you could say. And it still kind of works for me. It's still a collection of words that reframes things for me and provides me with a little more hope each time I recite it. And I think that's what prayers do. Another moment on my spiritual journey that I shared with the class, also relating to prayer, was a conversation I had with my sister when she was battling cancer. And she was pretty sick at the time, and her community was really rallying around her, our family and her friends and the parents at her kids' school. And there were a lot of churches all collectively praying for her, including this one. And my sister asked me, do you think there's anything that I have to do to accept the prayers that people are sending me? I mean, I don't know if prayer even works, but if they do, is there something I have to do to become receptive to them? And I told her, no. There wasn't really anything that she had to do on her end but just knowing that people were praying for her might help her to be more at peace and feel some comfort. And a hospital chaplain told her that she should think of herself like a cat lying in the sunshine. And the cat doesn't have to do anything to be warmed by that sunlight. It just has to find that sunny spot and stay there a while. I gave my sister a prayer shawl that I had been given by a friend and colleague at Mass General Hospital when I was in the chaplaincy program there. And I told her that she could wear it whenever she wanted so that she could literally wrap herself in my prayers and the prayers of my friend and the prayers of the women at my friend's church who had knitted the prayer shawl. And she could rest in that warmth like the cat in the sun. And occasionally I still give out prayer shawls to people who are sick or dying or grieving or just going through a hard time so that they too can wrap themselves in our prayers. And they don't have to do anything else to receive that comfort, that soft comfort of knowing that there are people thinking of them and pulling for them and sending them love and strength. And the shawls mean a great deal to people. One of the people who knits these prayer shawls is my mom's friend Ginny, and that is a beautiful gift that she has offered us. Susan Jorgensen and Susan Izzard, two prayer shawl knitters from Connecticut, have written a book called Knitting into the Mystery, a guide to the shawl knitting ministry. It offers guidelines for knitters, from the highly practical, like how many skeins make a good length for a shawl, to the deeply subjective, like what prayers to say before giving away a shawl. Here's one. May the one who receives this shawl be cradled in hope, kept in joy, graced with peace, and wrapped in love. One day when I was visiting a hospice chapel, I saw a basket full of funny little knitted squares. And I picked one up and I saw that each of them had a little knitted design in it, either a cross or a heart. And now someone told me recently that maybe these were crocheted, but they were definitely out of yarn. I'm not sure. But they were just a couple of inches wide and a couple of inches tall, and you could fit one right in your pocket. And there was a little sign that invited you to take one and keep it with you for comfort and hope. Instead of prayer shawls, they were prayer squares. I was captivated by the idea. I also couldn't help thinking of that Seinfeld episode called The Stall. Do you know which one I'm thinking of? A lot of people are crying right now, so I thought it might be nice to insert a little comic relief. Some of you are like, don't do it. I'm gonna do it. Elaine is at the movie theater, and when she goes to the ladies' room, she realizes too late that her stall is out of toilet paper. Take a listen.
I'm sorry. This is kind of embarrassing, but there's no toilet paper over here.
One second. I'm gonna try to make it louder if we can.
Are you talking to me? Yeah, I just forgot to check, so if you could spare some. No, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry, I can't spare it. You can't spare it? No, there's not enough to spare. Well, I don't have much, just 3 squares will do it. I'm sorry, I don't have 3 squares now, if you don't mind. 3 squares? You can't spare 3 squares? No, I don't have a square to spare. I can't spare a square. Well, is it 2 ply? Because if it's
little hard to hear. The key line there is, I don't have a square to spare. I can't spare a square. This episode cracks me up. And of course, it gets even funnier when it turns out that the woman who doesn't have a square to spare starts dating Jerry, Elaine's best friend. And of course, Elaine would recognize that voice anywhere. I can't spare a square. We can be like that. We can be like that with our prayers, too. We can withhold them, either because they feel like too small of an offering, or because we don't know if they will make any difference, or because we are too angry, or too scared, or too consumed by our own needs. But sometimes we do share them. Whether we were taught to pray or not, we find ways to reach out to each other and to surround each other with love. We find ways to call on God or the universe or whatever is beyond or outside of ourselves. We find ways to transfer our own caring, loving energy to others in their time of need. And just like it did back there in my little bedroom altar, it brings comfort and peace and a sense of connection. And I think that's why a lot of us come here to a place where we light candles for one another and the world, where we offer spoken prayers and also hold a space for silent reflection and the prayers of our hearts. And today we have a gift for you. As it happens, we do have a square to spare. Kathy, if you want to come up. It's better than toilet paper, I promise. I don't knit or crochet, but I do like to embroider, and I do like to pray. And I have put my prayers for all of you into some prayer squares that I would like to give to you. I've been working on these all summer, actually, and they're each different, but they all come steeped in my prayers for you. And hopefully the colors and textures and softness of them will be some comfort to you as you look at them or just feel them in your pocket on a hard day. Or maybe you will pass yours on to a friend in need after you have added your prayers to it. And as they hold that little piece of felt, maybe they will feel held too. Now, it doesn't matter if you are a member here or a visitor, if you are here every Sunday, or if this is your first time, there are plenty of squares to spare, and you are invited to come forward for one. As we do here, if you can come up this side aisle, which you can reach from the back of the sanctuary, and then return to your seats up the middle and far aisles. And as an added treat, Kathy Phipps is going to offer us some music as you await your gift. Let's begin. I hope you like your prayer squares. Monday night, I gathered with a few dozen people outside of Provincetown Town Hall for a vigil, to recognize the horrific mass shooting in Las Vegas. 58 people dead, almost 500 injured. Just awful, simply awful. Most of the other speakers there who went before me denounced prayer as a valid response to the tragedy. And they felt like prayer was just being used as the opiate of the masses. That politicians use the phrase, "I'm sending my thoughts and prayers," as a way of getting off the hook for further personal and political responsibility. And I understood their anger. And I understand that argument. This tragedy was thoroughly preventable. And the fact that after so many children were killed in Newtown and we still can't pass any meaningful gun control fills me with rage and frustration too. And so I admitted to my fellow speakers and to those who had gathered around us that of course prayer wasn't enough. And then I invited them to pray with me. Because when we stop praying for each other, when we stop lighting candles for one another and stop reaching out to each other for comfort on the days when violence takes a life, any life, when we cease to mourn and start to numb ourselves to the violence, turning only to anger or apathy instead of prayer, that's not the day that we lose our faith in God, if we had any, or the political system. That's the day we lose our humanity. And what a bigger tragedy that would be. And so we said a prayer in memory of those who were killed in Las Vegas. And we passed candlelight from one person to the next until we had made a circle of light. And a deep comfort came over the gathering. Breathe. For yourself. For each other. Let us breathe in when others cannot, when we can do nothing else. Let us stretch ourselves open to embrace our friends, to extend our bodies open to anyone willing to meet us, or even to meet those we think may not. Let us hold each other for this moment, for this blink of human existence. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.